Well, I'm here. Where do we begin? If you are new to my channel, welcome. This is maybe not the best video to start with just because I have been through a little trauma in my personal life, so maybe watch a different one to begin. But for those of you who are not new or who are willing to brave me in my rawest form, thanks for watching. So today is Thursday. Nope. Today is Friday, September 6th. On Tuesday, August 27th, my dad passed away from pancreatic cancer. And so that has been a long battle. Well, not really much of a battle, I guess, just kind of waiting out nature. And I have been taking a little break from YouTube and trying to just focus on myself and my grief. And hey, I survived, I guess. I survived the funeral. I've survived the first week and a half. I am now back in Philly. I was back in my hometown, Sarasota, Florida, until yesterday, and now I'm back in Philly and trying to figure out how I live my life now. So I was lucky enough to have several boxes of books waiting for me when I got back to Philly, and I thought, why not do a nice little haul, pretty easy, type of video to film, and it's whatever, it's content, who cares? It'll be fun. So that's what we're gonna do here. I do have some books, not a huge amount, but I do have some books here to share with you. A lot of these books I haven't barely even looked at yet because I got home last night. I was exhausted and drained and just everything's been tough. But my dad was the biggest champion of my YouTube channel. He looked forward to every single post, and so I really want to keep doing this because I know he would be really proud, and like that's what he would want for me. And yeah, he used to put them on and to fall asleep too because he just liked to hear my voice. So he was the best dad. So anyways, that's all I'm going to talk about that because I don't want to cry. So let's go, books. This first book was one I actually received just like a few days, I think, before I left for Florida, but I really, I didn't know anything about this. This was sent to me by Mariner Books. So it's called On a Move, Philadelphia's Notorious Bombing and a Native Son's Lifelong Battle for Justice by Mike Africa Jr., who was actually someone that was affected by the subject of this book, which is a bombing that basically Philadelphians dropped on themselves, so to speak, in this black community residential neighborhood that housed the offices, the headquarters of a black-led civil liberties organization called MOVE, and it killed 11 people, left hundreds of people homeless, and it kind of seems like this was in 1985, by the way, and this kind of goes on and talks about how this all happened, like the police violence that had happened. We had a notoriously racist mayor. This seems really interesting and like kind of a subject I don't know anything about, and like as a Philadelphian, I feel like I should. Today's the first Eagles game. I have my cute little Eagles earrings on, and it just feels like it's really important. So interesting to read that one. Next, I've got The Highest Law in the Land, How the Unchecked Power of Sheriffs Threatens Democracy by Jessica Pishko. This was sent to me by Dutton Books. This is a big one, very long. Hopefully I'll get to it. So this is about basically what it says, how sheriffs are one of the most white and male occupations, elected locally and nearly impossible to get removed from office. They wield so much power. They run county jails, make arrests, enforce evictions and immigration laws, and how they have just become so far right as a whole that it's like really threatening democracy, because a lot of the things the right are doing are threatening democracy to begin with. So yeah, this this sounds like it could be very maddening. This sounds like it will be, yeah, pretty upsetting. There is gonna be some really hard truths in here, but nothing I don't think that will be all that surprising. Sorry to say, but it's a long book. I don't know when I'm gonna get to it, when I'm in the mood for some serious nonfiction. I don't know. If my camera keeps like moving positions, it's because I desperately need a new tripod, but I've had other stuff going on, so right now it has not been a priority, but my apologies. The next book I got sent by Avid Reader Press. It's called Too Soon by Betty Shame. This actually doesn't come out until January, so a little sneak peek of this one. I am just going to read it because the inside flap, because I really haven't read much about this yet. So it says 35-year-old Arabella, a New York theater director whose dating and career prospects are drying up, is offered an opportunity to direct a risque cross-dressing interpretation of a Shakespeare classic in the West Bank. Her grandmother Zoya plots to make a match between her and Aziz, a Palestinian-American doctor volunteering in Gaza. Arabella agrees to meet Aziz since her growing feelings for Yoav, a celebrated Israeli-American theater designer, seems destined for disaster. Arabella and Aziz's instant connection reminds Zoya of the passion she once felt for Aziz's grandfather, a man she desired desperately even after her father arranged another husband for her. In turn, Zoya would later marry off her youngest daughter, Naya, who at 16 wasn't ready to be a wife or a mother to Arabella. Now that Naya's children are grown and she's arrived at an abrupt midlife crossroads, it's time to settle old scores. ... So, it sounds like it's kind of, like dramedy. It sounds like it's gonna be funny, have some like good wit and just a fun little premise, but also some serious topics as well. Next, I have sent to me by Gallery Books Memorials by Richard Chismar. I've not actually read any of his books. He's a horror author. I've only read a couple things that he has collaborated on with Stephen King, so I've never written any books by him personally by himself, but this sounds really good. So it's horror, and it takes place in 1983, and it just follows these three college students who are making a short film, a short documentary about roadside memorials and like the history of them, where did they come from, how do they get formed, and all of that, and creepy stuff starts to happen. And I actually I didn't read much. I read probably like 10 pages of this last night, and I was like very excited about it. So I feel like I might go ahead and read this next. Right now, my reading has just been kind of like meh. I have been reading, but nothing's been like really wowing me. And so the fact that this like totally got my interest and like got me excited, I feel like this is something I want to read soon. This comes out on October 22nd, so another one that's like, you know, a little bit early, and I'm looking forward to reading. I probably will start this after I finish making this video. So next book I have is The Night We Lost Him by Laura Dave. This I got sent by Mary Sue Rucci Books, which is an imprint I don't know that I've heard of, but it's, I guess, the Simon & Schuster imprint. So Laura Dave wrote a book called The Last Thing He Told Me. I know she's written a couple others. That's the only one that I've read. I think it was a Reese's book club pick. I liked it. It was fine. It was definitely more of a like suspense mystery than a thriller, but I did really enjoy it, if I recall correctly. This book comes out on October 1st, and I do think that this was a book of the month pick for whatever month it is now, September. So you can also get your hands on this copy of this early. So this is about a rich hotel magnate who falls to his death off of a cliff, and it's deemed an accident, I believe. Yes. It says it's an accident, but he had some secrets, and so his daughter, who he was kind of estranged from, and then his son, who is from a different marriage than the daughter, so they don't really know each other well. They are gonna like come together and solve the mystery, I guess. So we'll see. You know, it sounds like books I've read before, but I'm always open-minded, and as I said, I did enjoy this author's another book from her, so maybe this will be one I really like. So a very good friend of mine, Carrie, we met on Instagram back in 2020, and her husband had just passed away, and she's young. I mean, she's, I think, maybe in her late 30s. She sent me a couple books that helped her a lot with the death of her husband. And one of these is It's Okay That You're Not Okay, which is funny because, you know, I got this when I had just gotten home yesterday, but I actually had gotten the audiobook from the library and had just finished reading this. It's obviously like a grief self-help kind of book, but I had just finished it on audio, and I was just like, I really need to get a physical copy of this because this listening to it helped me so much, and I would love to like go back and highlight passages and stuff. I think this book is also really good for if you know someone that's grieving, and just like how to be helpful, things at work, things that are good to say, things that maybe we shouldn't say. And so I'm so happy to have a physical copy, and it was so sweet of her to send this to me. She also sent me Wing Walking by Stephen Slater, and this is a book you've probably never heard of. It is, I don't know if it's self-published or just indie published, but I'm sure you've heard the story about the man who wrote it. This is a memoir. He is the JetBlue flight attendant who famously back in like 2010 grabbed a bunch of bottles of liquor, little minis, and opened the cabin door and slid down the slide and quit on the spot. And it was a big deal then. I wasn't in the aviation industry at the time, but everyone heard about it. Everyone still talks about it to this day in the industry. We're like, I'm going to pull a Steven Slater when passengers are being annoying or whatever. So this is his memoir about how he was so depressed and obviously unwell, and that's what led to him to take those actions, and then kind of how he dealt with the resulting like overnight celebrity of the whole thing. And so I just think this will be a really interesting one in ways that, you know, I've dealt with my own mental health issues and plenty within my family, and aviation obviously I have a connection to. So I just think this will be a really good book to read. All right, and next is a book that I purchased, and it's a very popular one, and that is Crying in H Mart. This, you know, I feel like everyone's heard of. It's a memoir about a woman who is dealing with the death of her mother. And so I just thought that this would be something that really could resonate with me right now. It's a book that I've been meaning to read for a long time. It got such great reviews when it came out. It seems like it's really you know, been effective, emotional. It just brought out a lot of feelings for a lot of people and who've been through something similar. And so I just thought maybe this was a good time to read it. Another book that I bought for myself is Trust by Hernan Diaz. This is like, I'm sure you've seen this cover before if you've even never heard of this book. I honestly bought this because I was buying a couple things on Pengo Books, Crying in H Mart, another one, and I was like trying to get free shipping. So I was like, oh, this is one that I've heard of. It sounds really good. Let's just go ahead and get it. And I'm really excited to read it. I am certainly not the first one to probably have spoken about this that you've seen, so I won't go too crazy into it because I'm not 100% sure I'm going to get it right if I try to explain the premise. But I know there's 4 different points of view, and they're basically all telling the same story. And it's like kind of a who do you trust situation. Like, how does our perspective and like our lived experience like impact how we tell a story, I think. So yeah, check it out, I guess. Another one I bought is She's Not Sorry by Mary Kubica. I honestly have heard her name pronounced so many different ways, and I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce it. So this is a thriller, and it's about a woman who is a single mom. She's a full-time nurse, and she ends up having a patient come in with a brain injury. She had jumped over a bridge and fallen 20 feet. But there's all kinds of questions once the patient regains consciousness, and she's like, she might have been pushed, yada, yada, yada. This is a book that I picked for my Bar 3 book club for September, and honestly, I just thought I needed something a little easy. My group tends to like thrillers, and I've really enjoyed a book by this author, Local Woman Missing, so I thought it would be a good pick for September. I don't know. And the last thing I want to share is a book. I haven't even opened this yet. It's a book box from Zibby Books. So it's for the book Exposure, which is one that I have had on my radar and I'm pretty excited about. So I thought that I would talk about this and open it together. I mean, I did open the packaging just because I wanted to not have to do that right now. Anyways. Okay, so this is dark chocolate pretzels. Yummy. Ooh, and it's in like a fun candy bar form. Very nice. I'm assuming this is something to do with the book. A map of Los Angeles. Okay. We have a little Glossier Lavender Balm.com Universal Salve. We love a lip product. Never mad about that. Testament Rose Canina Essential Face Oil. I don't know why I won't focus, but that's a thing. We love it when we get a QR code with extra stuff on it. Very cool. And of course, we've got the book Exposure, which now I will tell you about since we've opened this fun little package. All right, so Exposure. This comes out on September 10th. And this says, in 2004, Juliet Marker, a white college freshman, and Noah King, a black high school senior, are two lonely souls who enter each other's orbit, forge a connection, and go home together after a night out. 12 years later, Noah has done the impossible and made it in Hollywood. His first film is about to be released, and he and his beloved wife, Jessie, are a successful writer herself, have just had a baby. Meanwhile, Juliet's best friend Annie is back in LA for the first time in more than a decade and makes a startling discovery about Juliet that will threaten to blow up the life Noah has struggled to build. Spanning decades from LA to Chicago and told through Annie, Juliet, Noah, and Jessie's perspectives, this powerful, provocative novel delves into one life-changing night and the lives of those affected by it, exploring how race, artistic ambition, and grief expose different versions of the same story. So, doesn't give you a whole lot, but I mean, I love this kind of book. It seems very, like, mysterious. I love different perspectives, so we'll see. This should be good. It's pretty long. Well, actually, I guess it's not that long. Well, it's just a little under 400 pages, but doesn't it look like it's very thick for, like, a paperback? I don't know. So, thank you for watching this video. I know it was kind of all over the place. I'm still kind of getting my bearings, as I'm sure you can understand. I hope to be making videos back again on a semi-regular basis. We might not be quite back up to 2 per week at this point, but I am certainly feeling like this is something that, you know, is a good motivation for me to kind of like get up, put some makeup on, get out of bed, you know, especially before I go back to work. So I'm gonna definitely do my best, and yeah, like I said, my dad loved these, so I'm hoping this, you know, brings me a little joy from knowing how much he would have enjoyed watching them. So I really appreciate you watching them and sticking with me through this difficult time, and, you know, I've gotten so many kind words of support, and it means the world to me. It's brought me to tears several times, just how much the internet can bring people together, even though sometimes it seems like the internet is a cesspool. It's not always. Not this part anyways. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting me. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, I would love it if you would. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!